Headlines that you wake up to. News that shapes your day. Stories that matter to you.
A warm good morning to all of you. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning and we're back once again with a fresh edition of Breakfast News. I'm Preeti. With me is Rukma. In the next 1 hour, we'll get you everything that's making it to the headlines, national updates, international updates. Also, we'll get you updates from the world of sports, business, everything to keep you engaged for the next 1 hour to make sure that your tea or coffee right in the morning tastes even better.
Well, a very good morning to you, Preeti, and to all our viewers as well. As Preeti just said, it's 1 hour of Power Pack news ahead here on DD India. Well, the Supreme Court coming down heavily on politicians with criminal cases against them, coming down heavily on political parties, trying to shield them as well. News from Parliament as the monsoon session enters its last week. Also, all the international updates, the United Nations expressing concerns about Myanmar, also the situation in Afghanistan. News from sports and other updates, but first, the headlines.
In a key ruling, Supreme Court says no criminal cases to be withdrawn against sitting and former MPs and MLAs without prior orders from the state high courts. Directs all political parties to inform about pending cases against candidates on their websites within 48 hours of their election. Warns that non-compliance will invite contempt of court. Fines 8 parties for non-disclosure during Bihar elections.
Lok Sabha passes Constitution 127th Amendment Bill with 2/3 majority. Bill seeks to restore power of states to make their own OBC lists. Rajya Sabha proceedings disrupted yet again by opposition MPs stalling a discussion on agriculture in the House.
Important businesses lined up in both houses of Parliament today. Nirmala Sitharaman to move a bill to further amend the General Insurance Business Nationalisation Act 1972, while in Lok Sabha, Mansukh Mandaviya to move the Assisted Reproductive Technology Bill 2020.
India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage reaches nearly 52 crores, more than 37 lakh vaccine doses administered yesterday till 7 p.m. Over 19 crore 50 lakh vaccine doses administered in age group 18 to 44 so far. UP ends weekend COVID restrictions.
Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandaviya presides over the release of Global Youth Tobacco Survey. 42% decline in tobacco use among 13 to 15 years school-going children in the last decade. Minister emphasizes on the crucial role of teachers in creating awareness among children and their parents about harm due to tobacco use.
Bangladesh registers record COVID deaths in a day. 264 people lose their lives in past 24 hours. Positivity rate stands at 23.54%. Meanwhile, High Commissioner of India in Bangladesh to resume visa operations from today and relaxations in lockdown restrictions in the country.
Indian Embassy in Kabul issues a security advisory for Indian nationals in Afghanistan, asks to make immediate arrangements to return to India. Advisory comes as fighting escalates in the landlocked country. United Nations remains in touch with stakeholders to find a political solution to the conflict.
Amid deteriorating security situation, UN Special Envoy for Myanmar warns of a full-scale civil war if all key parties do not hold a successful dialogue. On all issues of the South Asian country, United States announces $50 million in critical humanitarian assistance to the people of Myanmar, including those forced to flee violence and persecution.
Star footballer Messi signs 2-year contract with Paris Saint-Germain, says excited to begin a new chapter of my career at PSG. Also looking forward to stepping out onto the pitch at Parc des Princes. All right, those are the top stories. Let's get to the news in detail. We begin with the national headlines first.
And as we were telling you, the Supreme Court on Tuesday took an important decision to bar the entry of candidates with criminal backgrounds in politics. The court has issued directions that no criminal case against MPs or MLAs can be withdrawn without the approval of the High Court of the concerned state. The Apex Court also directed political parties to publish the criminal history, if any, of their election candidates on the homepage of their party websites, under the caption, "Candidates with criminal antecedents," within 48 hours of their selection. It has ordered the Election Commission to develop a mobile app to provide information about pending cases against candidates. Following the directions, CJI granted 10 days' time to the Central Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement Directorate to submit their reports. It directed the Registrar Generals of all high courts to provide information in a particular format about the cases decided by special courts against lawmakers. The Supreme Court also imposed a fine on 8 political parties for committing contempt of court by flouting directions in its February 2020 judgment for publication of the criminal antecedents of candidates during the Bihar Assembly polls last year. The court was hearing a 2016 plea by lawyer and BJP leader Ashwini Upadhyay on fast-tracking of criminal trials against lawmakers, besides seeking a life ban on convicted politicians from contesting polls. The next hearing in the matter will take place on the 25th of August.
All right, joining us to get us more on that is our correspondent Vikas Sarthi. Vikas, Supreme Court coming down heavily on the political parties and also directing them to furnish the details of the contenders with criminal backgrounds. Can you spell out more? How significant is this in, will this prove to be when we talk of the aim of the government and the establishment to provide clean governance?
Right, Preeti. There were 2 petitions actually were pending before Supreme Court yesterday, and the first case was related to the speedy disposal of cases pending against MPs and MLAs across the country. In that case, Supreme Court noted that in recent years it has found that without any approval from the High Court, the cases has been withdrawn against these public representatives, and Supreme Court again reiterated. The court had already said it in its previous judgment. Now court has again reiterated that no cases should be withdrawn against any MP or MLA without approval of the concerned High Court. And apart from it, court has also sought details from the respective High Courts regarding the pending cases against MPs and MLAs, how many cases have been disposed of and how many cases are still pending, and the details of the judges of the CBI and Special Court who are hearing these cases. So these details have been sought from the registrars of all high courts. The other petition was related with the decriminalization of the politics, and in that case also Supreme Court in 2020 held that all political parties must reveal the criminal antecedents of their candidates. Now court has also modified its previous order. Earlier court has said that before 15 days of filing of nomination, these details must be put in public. But now court has said that once a candidate is selected by a political party, within 48 hours, all the details of any criminal cases pending against these candidates must be published on their official website. In fact, court has also added that these details must be given on the home page of that particular political party. So at the home page, there must be a category which states that how many cases are pending against the candidates, and these details must be provided by political party. Apart from it, court has also asked Election Commission of India to develop a dedicated app for the purpose. Once a voter goes on that, uses that app, he will be able to know which candidate has criminal antecedent, what kind of cases are pending against him, and what is the status of those criminal cases. So a dedicated app will have to be developed by the Election Commission of India. These directions have been given by the Supreme Court yesterday.
Right, Vikas, the court has specifically mentioned Bihar, those selected in the elections in Bihar. What does this mean for those candidates anywhere in the country who do have criminal antecedents, who are a part of, who are under the scanner for their cases having been mysteriously withdrawn without the state high court having any hand in it? What happens to them? Will they have, will any action, is there any likelihood of any action against them?
Rukma, as far as the candidate's responsibility is concerned, he declares any criminal cases pending against him or her, they will have to declare in their nomination form. The basic issue here is that whether a voter knows about these criminal antecedent of the candidate or not. If a candidate doesn't declare any pending cases against him, his nomination will be rejected. So candidates give all those details in their nomination form. But Supreme Court wants from the political parties that all these details must be put in public knowledge. So the voter must be aware of the criminal antecedent of that particular candidate. Responsibility lies on that political party. In fact, court has also asked Election Commission of India to ensure that these directions must be followed by all political parties, and if any party flouts these directions, then it must be bring to the notice of the Supreme Court so that the contempt proceedings can be initiated against those political parties. Like court yesterday imposed fines on several political parties who failed to give information about criminal antecedent of their candidates.
All right, Vikas, thank you so much for joining us with those inputs. Let's turn focus to Parliament now. In Rajya Sabha, Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will move the General Insurance Business Nationalisation Amendment Bill 2021 for consideration and passage. The Appropriation Number 4 Bill 2021 and the Appropriation Number 2 Bill 2021, as moved by Minister of State for Finance Pankaj Chaudhary on August 2nd, will be taken up for further consideration and return. In Lok Sabha, Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia will move the Assisted Reproductive Technology Regulation Bill 2020 for consideration and passage. The bill provides for regulation and supervision of the assisted reproductive technology clinics and also the assisted reproductive technology banks, prevention of misuse, safe and ethical practice of assisted reproductive technology services. Also in the lower house, N.K. Premchandran and Vinayak Bhaurao Raut will raise a discussion on the situation arising out of COVID-19 in the country and also various aspects related to it under Rule 193.
Meanwhile, amid daily disruptions and scenes of pandemonium in both houses, the Lok Sabha yesterday passed the Constitution 127 Amendment Bill 2021 by more than 2/3 majority. The bill seeks to restore the power of states to make their own OBC lists.
Opposition parties continue to create ruckus in both the houses of parliament. On Tuesday, also the pandemonium impacted the smooth proceedings of both houses. However, the stalemate ended in Lok Sabha, after which the discussion on the 127th Constitution Amendment Bill began. The leaders of the ruling and opposition parties took part in the debate. After the reply by the government, the 127th Constitutional Amendment Bill was passed by the Lok Sabha. Taking part in the discussion, Union Minister Bhupendra Yadav accused Congress of doing injustice to backward classes during its tenure. He added that Modi government has taken swift actions for the welfare of the poor and backwards of the country.
इस बिल से राज्य सरकार की ओबीसी की सूची बहाल रखने एवं आरक्षण की मात्रा एवं प्रकार तय करने की शक्ति बहाल इसमें की जाएगी। इससे महाराष्ट्र के वंचित समाजों के लिए प्रावधान की राज्य सरकार की शक्ति पुनः उपलब्ध होगी। और मैं समझता हूं कि ये इस निर्णय से महाराष्ट्र के साथ ही साथ बाकी स्थानों के राज्यों में भी और इस तरह का अधिकार जब राज्य सरकारों को मिलेगा तो ओबीसी के हितों के उनके भलाई की दिशा में, कल्याण की दिशा में और काफी काम इस मात्रा से होगा।
हमारी सरकार पूरी तरीके से समाज के गरीब को, पिछड़ों को, दलितों को न्याय देने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है। यह एक ऐसा अवसर है जिस अवसर पर हम देश में जो दूर दूरस्थ क्षेत्र में जो छोटा समाज है, जो वंचित समाज है, जो गरीब समाज है, उसको बनाने की जो अधिकार है वो हम राज्यों को देने के लिए सरकार की इंटेंशन को पूरा करने के लिए आए हैं।
Leaders of all opposition parties, including Congress, SP, BSP, participated in the discussion.
आने में मजबूर कर दिया। आप इससे सबक सीख लिया कि नहीं, इतने जस्ती करना सही नहीं होगा। चलो एक अमेंडमेंट लाया जाए, यूपी में चुनाव है, उत्तराखंड में चुनाव है, वगैरह वगैरह इलाका में चुनाव है, चलो लोगों को फिर खुशी करने के लिए कोई ना कोई तोहफा के रूप से कुछ दिया जाए।
आरक्षण के महत्व पर और उसके उद्देश्यों पर भी चर्चा करना अत्यंत ही जरूरी हो जाता है। बाबा साहब ने संविधान में समतामूलक समाज की स्थापना करने के लिए आरक्षण का प्राविधान किया था और आज उनके इस उद्देश्य से सामाजिक और आर्थिक रूप से वंचित वर्गों को आरक्षण देकर के समाज में एक अग्रसर स्थिति बनाने के लिए एक महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभा भी रही है आरक्षण।
The 127th Constitutional Amendment Bill empowers the states and union territories to prepare their own OBC list. On the other hand, din continued in the upper house, resulting in suspension of question hour and the listed discussion on farmers' issue. The house witnessed repeated adjournments before it was finally adjourned for the day. With Parliament team, Bureau Report, DD India.
India's COVID vaccination coverage has reached nearly 52 crore mark. 51.85 crore vaccine doses have been administered so far under the nationwide vaccination drive. Out of this, more than 37.76 lakh people were vaccinated in the last 24 hours, while over 19.5 crore vaccine doses have been administered in the age group of 18 to 44 years so far.
The Uttar Pradesh government has ended the weekend curfew that had been imposed in view of the pandemic, as the active caseload there has gone down below 600. Meanwhile, Uttar Pradesh continues to allow no more than 50 people at a time to gather in religious places, wedding ceremonies and other social gatherings. On Tuesday, UP witnessed a sharp decline in the number of fresh COVID-19 cases as the state logged only 20, making it the lowest daily case count ever. The test positivity rate of the state is 0.01% now, the lowest in the country.
Kerala Chief Minister P. Vijayan has said that the government would impose a lockdown in localities that have registered a weekly infection population ratio above 8. The government had earlier said that triple lockdown restrictions would kick in the localities that register the index above 10. It would also increase micro-containment zones by more than 50% in the districts where it is above 14. Meanwhile, the state government has allowed the reopening of shops and malls from today. These shops will reopen in accordance with the guidelines issued for other shops and commercial establishments, requiring adherence to all necessary pandemic-related protocols. COVID-19 cases in Kerala have been resurging in the recent weeks, with test positivity rate reaching the highest in 3 months on Tuesday.
In Himachal Pradesh, schools will remain closed till the 22nd of August. However, residential schools will function as usual. The State Education Department will frame SOPs for schools to contain COVID-19. The state government in Himachal had earlier reopened schools for classes 10 and 12 on the 2nd of August. As per official statements, teaching and non-teaching staff will continue to attend the school. Meanwhile, now the government has made it mandatory for tourists to carry RT-PCR negative reports of a minimum of 72 hours or vaccination certificates with both doses having been taken. Also, interstate, inter-district and intra-district movement of public transport buses are allowed to operate with 50% of the registered seating capacity with effect from the 13th of August.
Andhra Pradesh is all set to open schools from 16th of August. State government has claimed that 95% teachers have been vaccinated and remaining 5% will be vaccinated on a war footing. District collectors have been instructed to ensure remaining 5% of the school teachers also be provided jabs before 14th of August. Education Department directed schools to function as per normal timings with adherence to the strict COVID guidelines. Private schools have been asked not to conduct online classes.
Union Minister for Health and Family Welfare Mansukh Mandavia yesterday presided over the release of a National Fact Sheet Global Youth Tobacco Survey, India 2019. The Union Health Minister emphasized on the role that teachers play as being the most crucial to create awareness among children and their parents about harm caused by tobacco and to shape the attitude of children in this regard. He said that the more and the sooner we create awareness among children about the harm caused by tobacco, the better will be the outcomes in terms of reduction in prevalence of tobacco use among children and consequently among adults. He added that the harmful effects of tobacco could be incorporated in school curriculum at various levels, starting right from the primary school level. The Union Minister noted that the use of any form of tobacco is higher among boys than girls, and tobacco use among school-going children is highest in the states of Arunachal Pradesh and Mizoram. It is the lowest in Himachal Pradesh and Karnataka.
Union Home Minister Amit Shah chaired the 36th meeting of the Parliamentary Committee on Official Language in New Delhi. Now, on this occasion, the Union Home Minister stressed on creating an environment in which the development of the official language Hindi takes place easily as a friend of local languages. He added that there can be no competition between any local language and Hindi because both of them are friends or sisters, and if we encourage this feeling, only then we will be able to take this work forward. During the Parliamentary Committee meeting, the approval was given to send the 10th report of the committee to the President. Amit Shah said that the Prime Minister had promoted and spread our language by speaking in Hindi on international forums. He said that under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, the work of translation of technical education and medical education has also been started in the official language, and the change is going to come across the country. Highlighting the significant contribution made by regional languages and also especially Hindi during our freedom struggle, the minister said that we are entering 75th year of independence. He added that in these 75 years, everyone together has taken the roots of democracy to the villages and also the towns and has made democracy natural to us.
Secretary General of SAARC, Isala Ruwan Weerakoon, yesterday met External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar during his week-long visit to India. The visit has been initiated from Sunday to explore the means to strengthen regional cooperation, including COVID-19 management.
India is set to launch its most advanced geo-imaging satellite or GSAT-1 tomorrow at 5:43 a.m. from Sriharikota. The 26-hour countdown for the launch began at 3:43 a.m. this morning. The 2,268 kg GSAT-1, codenamed as EOS-3, part of the new series of geo satellites which has civilian and strategic importance, will be put into orbit by ISRO's GSLV F-10 rocket. This will be the first launch of the major Indian-built satellite this year. Once placed 36 kilometers above Earth in the geostationary orbit, the advanced eye in the sky can constantly monitor areas of interest and give real-time information about a large area. Other remote sensing satellites placed in lower orbits cover a spot only at regular intervals. Now, this will allow better monitoring of the subcontinent, including its borders with Pakistan and China, by imaging the country 4 to 5 times a day. The satellite, which is capable of near real-time monitoring of the natural events like floods and cyclones, will also enable monitoring of water bodies, crops, vegetation and forest cover changes.
The 52nd International Film Festival of India is seeking entries for the Indian Panorama Section 2021. The 52nd edition of IFFI will be held in Goa from the 20th to the 28th of November later this year. The last date for submission of applications online is tomorrow, that is the 12th of August, and the last date of receipt of the hard copy of the online submitted application along with other requisite documents is the 23rd of August. Films not certified by CBFC and produced within this period can also be submitted. All films must carry English subtitles. The aim of the Indian Panorama is to select feature and non-feature films of cinematic, thematic and aesthetic excellence for the promotion of film art through the non-profit screening of these films in international film festivals in India and abroad.
The Central Board of Secondary Education has released the date sheet for Class 10th and 12th Compartment and Improvement Examinations 2021. Candidates can check the date sheet on the official site of CBSE, that is cbse.nic.in. CBSE Class 10th exams will start on August 25th and will end on September 8th, while Class 12th examinations will start on August 25th and end on September 15th. CBSE will conduct the examination in 19 subjects for classes 10 and 12 subjects, rather for 12 and 10 subjects for Class 12. For Class 10th, also candidates who can appear include those who were declared passed based on the tabulation policy but are unsatisfied with their marks, those who have been placed in the compartment category in the result declared, candidates whose results could not be computed, and candidates who appeared as regular students in 6 subjects but did not clear one paper from 5 main subjects.
The Reserve Bank of India has asked banks and white label automated teller machine or ATM operators to put in place a robust system that will allow them to monitor the availability of cash in ATMs and ensure timely replenishment to avoid cash out situations. The central bank has introduced a scheme of penalty for non-replenishment of ATMs effective October 1st, 2021, wherein banks and white label ATM operators will be penalized in the event of cash outs beyond the permissible time limit. According to the scheme, a penalty of 10,000 rupees per ATM will be levied in the event of a cash out situation for more than 10 hours in a month.
Up next, we take a look at international stock markets. Wall Street on Tuesday ended in the green with blue chip Dow closing at a record high. Investor sentiments got a boost from the passage of a $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure package by the US Senate. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 162.82 points or 0.46% to 35,264.67. S&P 500 gained 4.4 points or 0.099% to 4,436.75, and the Nasdaq Composite dropped 72.09 points or 0.49% to 14,788.
And it's time now to take a look at what's happening around the world in our international news segment across the globe.
As concern grows globally over the security situation in Afghanistan, with Taliban making rapid advances and resorting to widespread violence, the Indian Embassy in Kabul has issued a security advisory for all Indian nationals visiting, staying and working in Afghanistan to make immediate travel arrangements to return to India before commercial services are discontinued to their place of stay or visit to Afghanistan. Now, this comes even as a decision was taken to evacuate Indian citizens in and around evacuated from Mazar-e-Sharif in northern Afghanistan. We get you more.
Indian Embassy has issued a security advisory to Indian citizens in Afghanistan, and the message is clear. Indian citizens should make immediate arrangements for return. The Embassy has advised the Indian nationals in Afghanistan to make immediate travel arrangements to return home before commercial air services are discontinued as fighting rages in the war-torn country. The advisory says, as violence in many parts of Afghanistan has escalated, commercial air travel services to many provinces and cities are getting discontinued. All Indian nationals visiting, staying and working in Afghanistan are strongly advised to keep themselves updated on the availability of commercial flights and make immediate travel arrangements to return to India before commercial air services are discontinued. Indian companies operating in Afghanistan are strongly advised to immediately withdraw their Indian employees out of project sites in Afghanistan before air travel services get discontinued. The Indian nationals working for Afghan or foreign companies in Afghanistan should immediately request their employer to facilitate their travel from project sites to India. They can also contact the embassy. The advisory further had a special mention for the media persons in Afghanistan. It said, special attention is once again drawn to the members of the Indian media arriving in Afghanistan. It is very essential that all Indian media persons arriving or staying in Afghanistan to establish contact with Public Affairs and Security Wing of the Embassy for a personalized briefing, including specific advice for the location they are traveling to. This will help media persons make a better assessment of the risks involved given the rapid changes in the security situation taking place in different parts of the country. The advisory came hours after the Consulate General in Mazar-e-Sharif tweeted about the process for evacuating the Indian nationals from the city. The tweet by the Indian Consulate General said, "A special flight is leaving from Mazar-e-Sharif to New Delhi. Any Indian nationals in and around Mazar-e-Sharif are requested to leave for India in the special flight scheduled to depart late today evening. Indian citizens desiring to leave by special flight should immediately convey their full name, passport number, date of expiry by WhatsApp at the following numbers." The Taliban have claimed that they have taken control of 6 Afghan provincial capitals till Tuesday after a blitz across the north that forced tens of thousands of people to flee their homes. Mazar-e-Sharif is the biggest city in the north of Afghanistan and is considered of tremendous strategic importance. Bureau Report, DD India.
Failure to stem the rising violence and commission of human rights violations and abuses is having disastrous consequences for the people of Afghanistan. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Michelle Bachelet warned on Tuesday that even before the latest Taliban military offensives on urban centers, the United Nations had documented a steep increase in civilian casualties. She also urged all states to use their influence bilaterally and multilaterally to bring the hostilities to an end. The UN asserted that unless all parties return to the negotiating table and reach a peaceful settlement, the already atrocious situation for so many Afghans will become much worse.
Amidst deteriorating security situation in Myanmar, UN Special Envoy has warned of a full-scale civil war if all key parties do not hold a successful dialogue on all the issues of South Asian country. UN Envoy for Myanmar, Christine Schraner, said that the country's military leader appears determined to solidify his grip on power following a February coup. An ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi's political party could soon be disbanded. She added, "This is an attempt to promote legitimacy against lack of international action taken."
Commander-in-Chief appears determined to solidify his grip on power with the latest caretaker government announcement, also with the formal annulment of the election result from last year, and with the declaration of the Commander-in-Chief to be the Prime Minister of the country. And I fear that we will soon hear also that the NLD party could be disbanded. This is an attempt to promote legitimacy against lack of international action taken. And I have to make clear that the UN does not recognize government, so it's up to the member states. And as long as member states do not make any decision, the permanent representative, Ambassador Jo Motun, is the legitimate representative of Myanmar in New York. And Aung San Suu Kyi and President Win Myint are the leaders, as mentioned also in the presidential statement of the Security Council of the 4th February this year.
Meanwhile, United States has announced $50 million in critical humanitarian assistance to the people of Myanmar, including those forced to flee violence and persecution.
And more news from the neighborhood. The COVID pandemic in Bangladesh has claimed a record 264 lives as of Tuesday, taking the death toll to 23,161. The same number of deaths was reported on 5th of August, which is the highest since the pandemic broke out in March last year. A total of 11,164 new cases of coronavirus infection were also reported on Tuesday. The sample positivity rate continues to show a declining trend, with on Tuesday standing at 23.54%. Meanwhile, the mass vaccination drive for COVID is continuing across Bangladesh, with over 19 million shots being administered till Monday.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has resigned after an inquiry found that he sexually harassed multiple women. Cuomo made the announcement a week after New York Attorney General Letitia James released the results of a 5-month independent investigation that concluded that he had engaged in conduct that violated the U.S. and state laws. In a televised address, Cuomo continued to deny allegations of harassment, but said that he wanted to deeply apologize to any women who may have been offended by his actions. His resignation spared Cuomo from possible removal from office through impeachment proceedings in the Democratic-controlled state legislature. Cuomo was elected to 3 terms as governor. He previously served as U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Secretary from 1997 to 2001 under former President Bill Clinton.
Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul will become the first female governor of New York now. A former Democratic Congresswoman who has served as Lieutenant Governor since 2015 will take over from Cuomo until his third 4-year term in office ends in December 2022. Hochul had joined the chorus of politicians denouncing the New York governor last week, saying his resignation on Tuesday was the right thing to do.
All right, up next we take a look at COVID numbers from across the world. The world continues to battle COVID-19. So far, more than 20.47 crore people have been infected by the virus, while over 18.38 crore patients have recovered. More than 43.25 lakh people worldwide have died due to the virus, with over 3.68 crore total cases. The United States continues to be worst affected by COVID. The deaths due to the virus in the country have surpassed 6.34 lakh.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel on Tuesday said Germany needs to speed up its vaccination campaign to avoid overwhelming its healthcare system. After talking to leaders of the country's 16 states on containing COVID, Merkel said vaccination rates have lost pace substantially. She said from the 11th of October, Germany would end subsidies for free coronavirus tests and instead require people to be either vaccinated, test negative, or have a coronavirus recovery certificate to be able to visit places which include restaurants, care homes and fitness centers.
Those who are vaccinated no longer have to get a test, and those who are vaccinated surely will be treated differently to those who are not vaccinated should the infection rate rise further. But we cannot allow our health system to be overburdened. We simply can't take responsibility for that.
Bavarian Premier Markus Söder has said that a 4th wave of COVID was coming to Germany this autumn.
The 4th wave is creeping up. It's a bit of deceptive calm. A majority of people think that the infection rate is actually quite low, and most people are still on summer holidays. But what is clear is that this 4th wave is coming, and definitely in the autumn.
American migrants who were hoping to have a better life in the US were deported to Mexico after most of them tested positive for COVID-19. Families with children from Guatemala, Honduras and El Salvador crossed the Laredo-Stanton border bridge between Ciudad Juarez and El Paso, Texas. They headed for migrant shelters in Mexico, in limbo and uncertain of their future. According to U.S. authorities, 260 migrants were deported on Monday this week.
In Bangkok, thousands of Thai anti-government protesters clashed with riot police amidst rising anger over the handling of COVID pandemic by Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha's administration. Now, riot police were seen using tear gas, water cannons and rubber bullets to disperse the protesters. Police said at least 6 of its officers were injured during the clashes. As many as 6 protesters were arrested, the police said, after early warning that all public gatherings were illegal under COVID emergency rules. 2 police booths were also set on fire as sporadic violence continued into the night.
And it's time now for our next segment, the Web News Review.
And our colleague Abhishek is joining us with a web review. Abhishek, good morning. Let us know what headlines have you picked up for us from the social media platforms.
Good morning, Preeti. The first news that I'm going to tell you is from the Indian Express, and this tells about India's pullout from Mazar-e-Sharif. And India has issued the third advisory in this month to for all its citizens to leave Afghanistan immediately before any commercial flight stops. The next news is from The Hindu, where US President Biden has said that there will be no change in troops withdrawal plan from Afghanistan amidst this rising resurgence of Taliban forces in Afghanistan. His statement is very important as to how Afghanistan forces and USA are going to deal with this crisis. The Times of India is our next newspaper, where I am bringing you news from high R value in many states is triggering worry, because this is the value what tells the infection rate will be how much, and one person can infect how many person, and if this goes increasing, the upcoming days may not be as good and peaceful in terms of whole pandemic can anticipate, and this is our insight that these experts have witnessed in various states and in some of the districts. Business Standard has made news that starting from October 1st, RBI will levy penalty on ATMs that run out of cash. It's a good news for people, because so many times we see, because of the weekends or during some holidays, so many ATMs run out of cash, and with this penalty system, probably bankers will be more cautious about their approach of filling ATM cash, so that people can have their money transaction regularly done. Hindustan Times has made news of ISRO's latest launch, which will be Eye in the Sky satellite tomorrow, and the countdown has begun. Yet another peak in the by India's Space Research Organization. So these are the major news that I have brought for our audience. Back to Rukma and Preeti for more news updates.
All right, Abhishek, thank you for joining in with that web review.
And it's time now to move on to some sports news in our next segment, Sports Track.
Lionel Messi has signed a 2-year contract with Paris Saint-Germain after leaving Barcelona. The 6-time Ballon d'Or winner signed a 2-year contract with an option for a 3rd year. This move will add one more star player to PSG attack. That includes Brazil's Neymar and French World Cup winner Lionel Messi left Barca as they were unable to afford a new deal under La Liga's financial fair play rules.
World number 4, Rafael Nadal, had withdrawn from the Masters 1000 hardcourt event underway in Toronto due to persistent pain in his injured left foot. The injury kept the 20-time Grand Slam champion out of Wimbledon and the Tokyo Olympics this year, and played a role in his shock third-round exit at the Washington Open last week. Nadal will now turn his attention to getting fit ahead of the US Open in New York. The second seed will be replaced by lucky loser and fellow Spaniard Feliciano Lopez in the main draw.
Indian men's hockey goalkeeper P.R. Srijesh, in an exclusive talk with DD News, said that bronze medal win at Tokyo Olympics can be a watershed moment for the country and will help the sport reach dizzy heights. The goalkeeper finally gets to add an Olympic medal to his glittering international career. Srijesh played a central role in India's campaign at the Tokyo Olympics, pulling off a series of saves in the dying minutes of their bronze medal match against Germany. Our correspondent Tapas Bhattacharya spoke to the man of the moment regarding those crucial seconds before the whole country erupted in joy.
Joining me is P.R. Srijesh, the man who made it happen after almost 41 years. Srijesh, welcome to Doordarshan, and first and foremost, how does it feel when you went right there perched at the top of that goal post? I'm definitely sure you were absolutely thrilled.
See, that is one of the memorable moments, and definitely I don't know how to describe that moment, because it's a hard work of it's almost long 21 years. 2000 I started my career, and it's 2021 I got an Olympics medal. Which is like a dream comes true, because when I started my career, I always heard about the good stories, the history which Indian hockey team created. In the Olympics Games. So today, when I achieved that, when I got a bronze medal in Olympics Games, I think that is great, and I become part of history.
You were part of the history, and you actually made history. That last penalty corner, if you were not there, it would have made it to the penalty shootout. What was going in your mind at that time?
It's a penalty corner defense is a collective effort because you need to trust your defender as well. So Amit Rohidas, Surendra, Manpreet was there, Rupinder was there. So I was pretty confident that how it's going to be how it's going to be defended. And once we made that save, then we realized that okay, that's done, because 6 seconds in this world nobody can score a goal. That particular time I was just thinking about how I wanted to defend that, because I was instructing my players to just to run a 2 block so that I cover the left and we will tempt them to flick on the right side or anywhere, so that I will be mentally and physically prepared to save that ball. So there was nothing else was in my mind. I was just focusing how to save that ball.
When you came back, to the country, the kind of celebration that you saw right from the airport, what went to your mind at that time?
See, that's what it, because of the sport, we divided by languages, we divided by the caste, anything. But when we win a medal for our country, the entire country united, the country is ready to welcome the heroes. And yesterday I witnessed that. So the way the people in the airport, even here when we got back, the reception what we got, that is it's you can't say that, it's really great, and so these whole celebrations always help us to forget about the sacrifice what we made during the past 2 years, 3 years, whichever it is. So that because the hard work, the sacrifice which we made came into a glorious end. So that is what most important this time.
London was a dampener where you guys, and from there the journey, the change that started, especially now. Do you believe that this is the watershed moment now? We entered the bronze age, but it's time to enter the golden age again.
See, it's all about a process, because if you want to win an Olympics medal, if you want to win a World Cup, it's not happening yesterday. It happens years back. So as Abhinav says, it's a 4 years effort to win a medal. Now I think we are in the right track. The progress is happening in the proper way, and we are preparing in the right track. We are getting the young legs into the team, new talents. So when you are in the right track, right procedure, I think that will help you to achieve the best in the world. So in the future, this is going to be our what is the focusing point. So from here we start. So now the dreams will be much higher. So next time when we going for any tournaments, people always says that this team won an Olympics medal. Now we are expecting more from them. So that is going to be our next target. Consistency is more important, and definitely next year Asian Games and World Cup is going to be a crucial moment for us.
Last question: how much influence that Reed had, and the support that you received from Sports Authority of India, Hockey India, and other organizations?
Sports Authority of India, especially Bangalore Sai Center, is like our second home, because last this the COVID, throughout all this COVID period, we were there from the first day. And Sports Authority of India, especially Sai Center, they made that all facilities to support us in a proper channel. They closed the gates so that we feel safe, and they never allowed anybody from outside to secure us. Keep us safe from this COVID thing, and definitely from the government, they always there to support us with all the facilities we needed, especially with the foreign coaches and all the other facilities. Whenever we required, we got foreign exposure. We traveled to Germany prior to this. We've been to Argentina to play pro leagues. So the government is supporting a lot, and even though now I think the Khelo India program also developing in a better way. And definitely when the team wins in an Olympics medal, the association does a wonderful job to support its players. So Hockey India is doing a marvelous job from last 10 or 12 years, because I think the Indian hockey changed a lot after Hockey India introduced in Hockey India League. Because that's the time we get more foreign exposure. We met with a lot of international players. We know them, we get to know them, we learn from them. So I think it's a collective effort of the government part, the association part, and the players part. We won this medal.
Appreciate the time. So that was P.R. Srijesh, the man who won us that particular bronze medal. It's very clear that this is just a process, and in due course of time we will have more medals to come from a main championship, especially the Olympics.
All right, up next we take a look at weather across the country.
Well, as the satellite picture shows, the eastern end of the monsoon trough continues to run close to the foothills of the Himalayas, while the western end runs north of its normal position.
A cyclonic circulation lies over Bihar and extends up to mid-tropospheric levels. Under the influence of these systems, current spell of fairly widespread to widespread rainfall activity with isolated heavy to very heavy falls is likely over northeast and sub-Himalayan West Bengal and Sikkim during the next 5 days.
Isolated extremely heavy falls also likely over Assam and Meghalaya from 11th to 13th of August. Fairly widespread to widespread rain with isolated heavy falls likely to continue over East Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand and Gangetic West Bengal in the next 4 to 5 days. Very heavy falls over Bihar on 11th, that's today and tomorrow. Fairly widespread to widespread rain with isolated heavy falls likely over Uttarakhand on 13th and 14th and over Himachal Pradesh from the 12th to the 14th of August. Scattered to fairly widespread rain very likely over Tamil Nadu and Kerala in the next 5 days. Let's now take a look at temperatures recorded in towns and cities across India.
All right, that's it in this edition of the Breakfast Show this morning. But before we go, we leave you with this reminder. Every day, make sure that the fight against the pandemic is still going on. We all know that. And we need to still follow the COVID-appropriate behavior. Wear a mask, wear it correctly and properly. And all those eligible, please go and get yourself vaccinated.
And with that reminder, we also leave you with these glimpses. As always, today we bring you the famous glass temple, which recently celebrated more than 100 years of its existence. The interior of Indore's famous Jain temple is entirely made of glass, from floor to walls to ceilings. It's a beautiful temple, and we leave you with these wonderful glimpses. Take a look. Namaskar.
Bye-bye.